Oh Lord, we need your word.
I want to go to Deuteronomy chapter 3, and I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to read a few verses in there, but I'm going to skip around kind of oddly, but I'm doing that on purpose. Deuteronomy, if you just follow on the screen, it'll be better. Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse number 11. King Og had a bed made of iron. It's 13 and a half feet long and 6 feet wide by standard measure. He was a giant. Now I want to go back to verse 2. But the Lord said to me, do not fear him, for I have handed him over to you along with his whole army and his land. Verse 6, the first part, we completely destroyed them. Verse 7, but we took all the livestock and the spoil from the cities as plunder for ourselves. Now, Lord, I bless to the readers, the hearers, and the faithful doers of his most holy and righteous word. I want to preach about how men, or how we all should fight giants. How we should fight giants. I want to look at this because a giant represents a giant issue in life. In the text, Moses had a giant problem called King Og. I don't know what the name of your giant problem is, but sometimes we all have to be able to recognize that we got big problems. We got big issues. We got major concerns. And Moses and the children of Israel were traveling up the road to the sun, minding their own business, and without warning, King Og attacked them. I want to tell you something because the text is clear in pointing out that King Og was a giant man. In addition to being a giant, King Og had 60 fortified cities and a large army supporting him. So not only was there a giant, but there were also some other issues. Can I just preach like I feel it? Sometimes we got to understand, what do you do when you have a giant issue that be the main source of your weariness, but you still got other issues too? I'm going to preach in a few minutes. Giant issues are the ones that take up most of our daily thoughts, and they consume us with worry. But we got to be careful because we'll become so obsessed constantly with the giant issue while the other issues can be tearing our life apart. Here's what we got to understand, Lulu, because somebody listening to me is dealing with a giant issue that popped up unexpectedly, but you already was dealing with some other stuff. And if you're not careful, you'll get so caught up in what looks like a giant issue, George, and the devil will be cutting up in all that other little stuff that you ain't praying about no more. You ain't putting faith on no more. You ain't concerned about that much no more, because all your focus seems to be on is the giant. So you have to be careful because the enemy is very clever in causing you to forget about some of those other things because he wants your focus on one thing. And you got to really recognize that every issue is something that you got to deal with, and you got to make sure that you still praying, that you still got faith activated, that you still got your hope, that you still know what you're doing as it relates to every concern that you have in your life. But sometimes the giant issue just pop up out of nowhere. You weren't ready for it. You was minding your own business, and it just popped up. Just unexpectedly, and in your best moment of joy, it just popped up. And you were going along just fine. I mean, everything ain't 100%, but things are pretty good. You know, it's all right. But then here comes this giant. All of a sudden popped up. Last night, you and her was fine. This morning, you don't know what's going on. Just pops up. I don't know where you went to work last week, you left Friday, everything was fine. Get there Monday, you don't know what happened. Just popped up. You went to sleep last night, you were feeling fine, woke up this morning, pain in 18 different places. You don't know what what's going on. Just pop up. Your son is doing pretty good. Your daughter doing pretty good. They ain't the best, but they doing pretty good. Now all of a sudden, they running the streets. They getting in trouble. They act like they ain't got no home training. They acting out. They rebellious. The devil got them engaged. The devil got them cutting up. The devil got them talking back. The devil got them doing all kinds of stuff. Giant-ish. Just popped up. Health is starting to fail. Family falling apart. Your relationship all of a sudden is in the crack. You feel like you already defeated because of how big or how enormous, how huge, how giant this issue is. And I'm going to say something, Bruce, and I hope people don't get mad. But son, sometimes we make issues.
All right.
We make stuff and we interpret it to be bigger than they really need to be. And I'm not trying to be critical, but because I can't measure your sense of faith and your emotions. I can't measure what goes on in your thoughts when stuff happens to you. But some of it, I have to admit, you really making that a little bit too big. You got enough faith to deal with that, and I know that because of what you dealt with before. See, I know your testimony from before. And so when you talk to me about this, I'm not critical. I want to comfort you, and I want to say the things I'm supposed to say to encourage you, but deep down inside, I'm trying to figure out, now, wait a minute, God. Now, just last year, he dealt with this.
Teach, Bishop.
But now he calling me with this.
Yeah.
And why is he making it so? And that's what the enemy does, because when we're weakened on the journey, and we have not, watch me, Earl, we have not been prayerful in the good season. Let's see if I can help you. See, when things are good, we ain't praying that hard that much. And because we're not praying that hard no more, we're lowering our defense. Because everything looks decent. And so we're lowering our defenses. Yeah, we letting them come in a little bit later at night. We letting her stay out longer than she needs to. We letting things just start to creep in shade. And God already trying to warn you, if it's happening now, you better be careful, because all the enemy doing is seeing that you let your defenses down. And so now all of a sudden, you done got weakened and weakened and weakened. And now all of a sudden, when this thing come up, you don't know what to do with Junior. Because you done stopped praying. You done stopped having your defenses up. You done let your guard down. Now everything bothers you. And I didn't get one amen. Everything bothers you. Because you walking through life in the favor of God.
Teach, Bishop.
Lowering your defenses like the enemy finished. Like I got delivered from my disease. I'm straight now. I done got healed. Good, you celebrate, but don't you think for 1 minute that the enemy is finished. Don't you think for 1 minute, because you forgave her for this, so you forgave him for this, and your marriage, its trajectory is going better. Don't you think for 1 minute the enemy won't come back with something stronger. When we let our guard down, when we let her flirt, when we all not love. You know what I'm talking about. When we flirting ourselves and we know we ought not. When she tell you today, Vic, boy, you look good in that bow tie, but it ain't showing. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be careful, because what the enemy is seeing is if you're letting. And so Moses and the children of Israel, They had just got through with a battle, and they were just on their way, minding their own business. And I'm not going to say that they let their guard down, but what I am going to say is you still got to be alert on your way to the promises of God, because you got to realize that just because you defeated one thing don't mean that ain't nothing else coming. So you still got to be alert. So if you're going to fight your giants, you got to be alert. You got to always be aware that they can pop up from out of nowhere, and you can be on your way to your promises, and all of a sudden here it comes. So here comes the giant. And I know some of you were caught off guard by this stuff. You selected yourself now for major failure. I don't want to be critical. I'm trying not to.
Teach, Bishop.
But you have already concluded
Talk your talk.
that you're defeated. I see it on your face.
All right.
You're sitting in here. The giant issue popped up unexpectedly. Your body, the doctor said something, the boss said something, the marriage is going through, and you've already concluded.
All right.
Here it is. He ain't going to get no better. I'm just going to stay with him for the sake of money, for the sake of comfort, just for the sake of not, we got children. So I'm going to stay in it for the children. My marriage ain't got to get better. It's just got to be tolerated.
All right. All right.
And so now it's in your mind that you're a failure, that you can't do nothing about it, or better yet, God can't do nothing about it. The doctor said you got through that, but I see this now. Now we made it through that, but I don't know if we'll be able to make you. I'll try to give you this kind of medicine. I'll try to give you this kind of prescription. And all of a sudden, you walk out of that doctor's office, get in your car, driving down the road, defeated. Ain't asked God for nothing.
All right. All right. All right. All right.
The doctor just said this, and you got in your car. You've already looked at the situation with the children, and you've concluded, and it just ain't nothing else I can do. You've already considered yourself a failure. Didn't nobody tell you you can't? Didn't nobody tell you you can't overcome? You won't come through? Didn't nobody tell you you won't get no breakthrough? You won't get no deliverance? You told yourself that there's nothing that can be done about the situation I find myself. One of the things that I want to say to you is when you're thinking in defeat, it becomes consuming. And so simple stuff defeats you. Because your whole life is just defeat. Most miserable people in the church are people who are already pre-defeated. And so when I preach, it almost goes over their head because they already concluded that they're defeated. So God ain't talking to me because there's nothing that can be done about what I'm going through. And you've already concluded. You sit here as if God ain't got power to do anything, but because of what the enemy has purported in your head or portrayed in your mind, I guess I'm trying to say, this level of defeat has become the conquering element in your life. You don't see no hope nowhere. And so now this giant is so big, King Og just jumped out on us. And not only him, but his army too. And so now, Bishop, I ain't just dealing with the giant.
All right.
I'm dealing with the army too. So men should fight giants. Everybody should fight giants by fighting without, watch this, irrelevant fear. This is crazy because irrelevant fear is unnecessary. Now, it's one thing to be scared with a reason. But when you're scared without a reason, that's irrelevant fear. So what the Lord promised in the text, it's real simple. It's right there. It's nothing that I'm going to make up. It's right there in the text. But the Lord said to me, talking to Moses, you can put yourself in the meat spot. But the Lord said to Cashapp, do not fear the giant. Because, Cashapp, I have already handed him, y'all ain't saying nothing, over to you. And Cashapp, not only have I handed the giant over to you,
All right, what's up?
his army to you.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't saying nothing. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Y'all ain't got it. Y'all ain't got it. So it's irrelevant for you to be scared, Cashapp, if God already said the giant in your face is already defeated. And not only is the giant defeated, there's stuff in your body, there's stuff in your mind, there's stuff going on with your family. Everything that's on you cannot preach up in you. Everything that's on you is already defeated. Ain't you glad, Earl, that when you talk to God about your giant, God said it ain't just a giant you got to worry about. It's some other stuff in there too. So I don't just want to take care of your giant. If I really want you to be in your promise, I'm going to take care of everything. I wish I had a church in here who said, God, take care of everything. I mean everything. Don't leave nothing out. From A all the way to Z. Take care of everything. Is there anybody who believes that God don't take care of it all? It's already been handed over to you. And so when we're dealing with this context, you got to understand now that Moses was told by God not to be afraid, meaning don't be discouraged because of the size of ark. Don't be discouraged because of his 60 fortified cities or his large army. And so Jackie, he says, I got blessings, but before you get there, you got to deal with stuff that's trying to block your blessing. And then you got to deal with a giant, and then you got to deal with an army of enemies who going to keep trying to keep. It's one thing, Trey, so that the enemy can get you. The enemy got a giant, then he got an army, and then in the front of your blessing is fortified. It's blocked off. It's just so much happening that the enemy trying to do all at once to keep you from your promise. Y'all got to pay attention. The enemy got a landslide of stuff going on. All because he's going to keep you from your promise. Y'all ain't trying to be funny with you, but the enemy doing everything right now in his power to keep you from your promise. That's why he wants you weary, depressed, sad, crying, miserable. He don't want you to see nothing, sense nothing, because he wants you to be defeated. But God said, do not fear him, because I've already handed him and his army every problem in your life. And so we often make fear relevant in moments we don't need to. Somebody dealing with something now that's got you running scared, and you ought to be running in faith. You're running away from something when you ought to be running through it. Because you recognize that in order to conquer it, you got to go through it. You can't conquer it by running away from it. The only way to conquer it is to do as God said and go through it. And recognize what he said about what's happening is that I'm with you as you go through it. Look at this. I don't know who told you to stay stuck in a position of doubt, in a position of fear. I don't know who told you that you want nothing. I don't know who told you that you can't be healed. I don't know who put on record that you can't be delivered. I don't know who sent the text that you wasn't going to get no breakthrough. I don't know what Instagram post said that you was going to stay miserable. I don't know who you listening to. I don't know what your favorite TV show of doubt is. I don't know what radio fear message you keep listening to. I don't know what mama, daddy, friend you got that's speaking negativity in your life. I don't know who you rolling with that's giving you all this doubt and all these fear statements. But I just stopped by to tell you, if they can't have faith with you, you let them go on by themselves, because the God that you serve don't need nobody around you who ain't going to encourage you. You don't need no fearful and scary folk around, because when you got scary people with you on the battlefield, you'll be trying to hide. They'll be crying and whimpering and hollering, and they'll give away your position. Can I preach it like I feel it? The reason why some of y'all can't get no breakthrough is because you got the wrong folks with you, and they keep giving up your position. I'm trying to preach it. Folks keep giving up your position. They speaking out loud. You know, I spoke to Lady Robinson, and she ain't doing too well. She ain't talking too well. She talking like she defeated. Oh yeah, then that person gonna call somebody. Yeah, you know, Sean called me and told me she talked to Lady Robinson and said that Lady Robinson wasn't taking it too well. Oh yeah, okay. So Lisa gonna call somebody and say, yeah, I talked to Sean, who talked to Auntie Sam, who talked to Bruce, who said they talked to Lady Robinson, and Lady Robinson said she ain't taking it too well. And before you know it, all the divine purpose looking at Lady Robinson thinking Lady Robinson ain't taking it too well. And so instead of divine purpose walking through here with faith on behalf of Lady Robinson, everybody walking through here, y'all, we feel sorry for Lady Robinson. I'm going to preach it until y'all get it. You got to understand that we can't walk through here with irrelevant fear. We got to understand that if God says something, that settles it. And so if he said don't fear, if he said don't worry about it, somebody say I ain't worried about nothing. I ain't worried. Let me see it. I ain't worried about nothing. They already got the discouragements, the whole discouraging story out. Everybody know the discouraging story. That's irrelevant fear. That's now been exposed, and now the enemy know your position. Now the enemy know that that person is defeated, and now the whole body of people who's supposed to be supported are now defeated too. Because now ain't nobody speaking it. Ain't nobody speaking in hope. Everybody's scared. Everybody got fear. And it's absolutely irrelevant. Because God said, Lola, do not fear him. Because I handed him over to you. And so Lady Robinson, he ain't just handed a coma over to you. He handed whatever come after the coma. Everything in that sickness army, he said you got to be restored fully. Y'all, I feel like preaching. Some of y'all don't recognize, Brother Jones will tell you, when you come out and they say you got stomach cancer, and then you go back and the doctor said, look like something else coming. And now him and Shirley Ann said, wait just a minute. God said that we didn't have to worry about this. And so Tremaine take them all the way to Nashville to another doctor, and they say this and they say that, and then they get back here and they go back to another doctor. Then the doctor said, we don't see nothing. That's because God said, I have handed it over to you. I feel like preaching. He says not only should you fight without irrelevance, says that you got to fight. You got to fight giants. You got to fight with impactful. Listen, don't shout me. With impactful faith. Now, it's in the text. I don't want y'all to think I'm making stuff up. Impactful faith. The Lord said, Moses, the enemy's already in your hands. And so what Moses did was, well, if God told me not to fear, because the enemy and his army have already been turned over to me, I might as well attack with impact like I know I already will. Because there's no need of me attacking it any other way. And so watch this, lady. The Bible says that Moses and the children of Israel, when they went up against them, they completely I need everybody in here right now, whatever those giants are, I need you to program your mind to suggest that you're not just going to beat them, but you're going to completely destroy them. Y'all got to say it out loud. Don't just focus on just one thing. I need you to understand. When it says completely, that means no residue talk. Your talk, Bishop. That means you ain't worried about that enemy coming back. I wish I felt like that. You ain't concerned about that issue coming back. So you got to have faith impactful for the situation you're in. I got to ask the question, is your faith impactful for the situation that you're in? You got to stop trying to do with your faith what other folks did with theirs. You got to operate in your own faith. You got to have impact through your own faith. Just because somebody else did something, don't mean that's what your faith requires of you. Please don't miss this. If your faith gonna be impactful, Tremaine, you can't worry about what nobody else's situation is. You got to have faith for yours. Somebody else might not have survived it, but God says you can. Somebody else may not have come through it, but with your faith, y'all ain't saying nothing. You got to say, I know what God said. God said not to fear it because I've already won it, and so I'm going to completely destroy the thoughts that got me thinking that I can't overcome, that I can't bounce back. First thought I'm going to destroy is doubt. I'm going to destroy my fear. I'm going to destroy the essence of my grief, my own misunderstandings of the power of God. I'm going to completely destroy the giant and his army. Somebody else probably can't handle what you're dealing with on the job. But don't you walk off your job.
Yes, sir.
If you got impactful faith for what God promised you. Y'all ain't saying nothing. So, I don't care what they're getting you in the corner talking about what the boss is saying and what. Nah, if God ain't told me to move, I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna let my faith have impact for the situation that I'm in. I ain't going nowhere. Maybe you had to leave your marriage. Look, I ain't talking about your boo-boo. If that's what you had to do, that's on you. But that don't mean I got to leave. Nah. Maybe you had to stay in a bad situation, a bad relationship. But that don't mean I got to stay in a bad situation or a bad relationship. What you do with your faith, I don't want to have nothing to do with what you do with yours. I'm just concerned about what I'm doing with mine. Is my faith impactful for the moment that I'm in? There's no personal restriction on how many deliverance you can have.
All right.
I'm going to say it again, actually. There is no restriction on how many times you can be delivered. There are no restrictions on how many times you can get a breakthrough. And I'm talking about all at once. There's no limitation on what God can do in one moment. I'm talking about he can break down everything in one moment and shift the whole situation and turn the whole thing around. There's no limitation that hinders what God said you can be. There's no limitation that says what you can't overcome. Even if God doesn't do it, you still got to have impactful faith to believe that even if he don't, I know he can. Because what you believe God for, Bruce, may not make sense to me. What you have in faith for might sound crazy to me. Because it's not for me to have faith for what you believe God for. You stupid for trying to fix that marriage. You stupid for staying on that job. You stupid for trying to deal with that son. You stupid for letting that boy come back to the house. You stupid for not kicking him out. You stupid. Well, if my faith says, and I got to hold on right here, then I ought to do what my faith says. I can't do what you say because you think I'm crazy. I got to do what my faith says. If God tells me to believe I can be healed, I'm not going to stop believing. Look, if God take me out of here, y'all, I'll be in a casket, and I don't know if I'm thinking when I'm dead, Sister Shirley, but I'll be in my casket thinking God's still going to heal me. Because that's the faith I got to have. I got to believe that God's will trumps whatever my desires might be at times, what I'm still supposed to have. And so I don't stop at the place of my fear. I stand in the propensity of my fear. I drive my thoughts by what I believe, not by what I see. And even if what I see turns to be something negative towards what I believe, I still believe. Because then I shift my thinking to, well, maybe this is what the will of God is for me in this moment, but I still believe God. And if this is the way God working it out, I still believe God. I'm still going to have faith. I'm still going to trust him because there's nothing that I can do about it anyway. So I might as well trust him all the way through it. I know folks think I'm crazy. And this ain't never been done, Angel. Folks looking at us like we're crazy. Y'all ain't never seen nobody go through like that before. Folks telling us we ain't got no sense. We don't know what we're doing. But if we stand on faith, if we trust God, the same folks who said it don't make no sense, the same folks who said I don't know why they're doing it, gonna turn right back around and say, look at what God has done. Look at I gotta go. Not only should you fight giants without irrelevant fear and with impactful faith, I'm finished now, but you should also fight giants with interest in God's favor. So now, Sister Loretta, you'll notice from the text that Moses, after he completely destroyed them, it looks like God had a reward set up in the place of defeat. It looks like God, Tremaine, got a blessing in the place where you get your victory. See, Earl, if you never get victory in that place, you never get the blessing in the favor of that place. You never get the spoil of that place. You never get the blessings of that place. The Bible says, it's in the text, the Bible says, after we completely destroyed them, we took most of the lot, we took some of the lot, we took all of the livestock and the spoil from where? From the cities. That means that the 45 cities had already been destroyed. Those cities that were fortified, that it didn't look like to be penetrated, God even allowed Moses them to penetrate that. And that means every blessing in every city was now belonging to Moses and the children of Israel. The thing that the enemy trying to stop you from getting, that's the favor that God got for you. So lady, when you went through the sickness with faith, God rewarded you, Brother Jones, with healing. Y'all ain't saying nothing. He said that the favor is there after you defeat the giant in the place where you're in battle. And so I need everybody in here to understand that there's an incentive for you fighting. There's an incentive for you defeating the giant issues that come your way. I need everybody in here to say, I'm going to start fighting my giant, looking for God's favor, because I believe he got something for me. I don't know everything God gonna do, but I believe there's a blessing coming out of my fight. I'm preaching to some people now who need to know that you ain't seen nothing yet. As a matter of fact, your best is yet to come. Because when you get through fighting with God, and God get through bringing you through, you shall enter into greater favor. There are miracles and blessings coming your way that you didn't even ask for. There are miracles and blessings coming into your life that you didn't even know was on your plan. There's a specific purpose God got for you, and there are unforeseen blessings that are going to be given to you on purpose, out of favor, just because you hold on. Would you do me a favor and say, God, thank you for your favor. This favor, Bruce, is because you didn't quit. This favor is because you held on. Somebody in here need a visitation from the Lord right now because of all the stuff you're dealing with. But I stopped by to tell you that you ought to know that if you fight your giant, that you're going to get favor from God. And that God already got a plan for you. And I want you to start to see yourself already already victorious. I want you to see yourself already on the winning side. I'm preaching to some people now who want to be fed up with the giants, always trying to discourage you. So if there's a giant in your life, I want you to do me a favor and say, God told me not to be scared of this giant. Y'all ain't saying nothing. I said, if there's a giant in your life, I want you to say, God told me not to be afraid of this giant, because this giant ain't got nothing on the power of God. God already said that if I trust in him, he gonna work things out. I want somebody in here to do me a favor and say, I don't know what the outcome gonna be, but I'm gonna trust God all the way through it. I don't know what the end gonna bring, but I know in the midst of it, God already made me a promise, and whatever he promised, he will perform. I'm getting out of here now, but I need y'all to understand that God ain't playing with you, and that God ain't playing with the enemy. And you gotta know that when God gives you a promise, that whatever he said, it shall come to pass. Somebody under the sound of my voice been dealing with a giant for a few months now. Been trying to get over it, but every time you turn around, that giant in your face. I'm talking about that giant of despair, that giant of grief, that giant of sorrow, that giant of marital issue, that giant of a health issue, that giant of family problem, that giant of the thing that's got you worried, that's got you weary, and that's got you crying all night long. I hear God saying that it's time for you to get into your mind that I'm able to defeat that giant. Would y'all do me one favor and lift your voice and say, I am a giant killer. Y'all better look out. I am a giant killer. Excuse me, y'all, if I got faith to believe that I'm coming out of this, because I'm a giant killer. When you see me have faith and I got bad situations, it's because I'm a giant killer. When you see me smiling and I got giant issues, it's because I'm a giant killer. I'm going to give me a shirt, y'all, that say, y'all better watch out, because I'm a giant killer. Is there anybody else who gonna testify today that I'm a giant killer? I went through some giant stuff. You're looking at me now, but you don't know all the giants that I had to go through. You don't know all of the giants that I had to fight. All you see is my glory, but you don't know my story. So if I could testify, I tell you that the only reason that I'm here today in my right mind is because God made me a giant killer. Is there anybody who got a testimony, who can testify for real and say, I've been in some places where the giants were extreme. I've been in some situations where the giants were extreme. But take a look at me now. I am a giant killer. And whatever comes up now, I'm going to fight it with this hope. I'm going to fight it with this faith. I'm going to fight it in the right mindset. I ain't scared. I ain't scared of no giant. I ain't scared. I ain't afraid of no bad situation, because the God I serve already told me, do not fear him. I have already handed it over. Y'all, I'm going to keep on preaching about how he handed it over. I'm going to keep on walking like he handed it over. My marital problem already handed over. My health issue already handed over. the family already handed over. In other words, I've already won. I've already won. I've already won. Is there anybody who will shout with me that God did it? Is there anybody who will shout with me that God is a healer? Is there anybody who will shout with me that He's a way maker, that He's a promise keeper? Is there anybody who will shout with me that greater is in me than he that is in the world? Is there anybody who will shout with me that God is a deliverer? I wish I had somebody who will shout with me that He'll bring you out. I wish I had somebody who will shout with me that He'll pull you through. I wish I had somebody who will shout with me that He'll fix this and He'll fix that. He'll turn this around and He'll shift that too. If I had somebody who can testify with me that ain't nothing too hard for the God we serve, I wish I had somebody who will shout with me that if you trust Him, He'll come through. If you trust Him, He'll come through. I wish I had somebody who would jump up and say, I tried the man and he's all right with me. I wish I had somebody who would jump up and say, I'm getting ready to kill another giant of depression. You better watch out now. Giant of despair. You better watch out now, because I'm in a room full of giant killers. I'm in a room full of folk who believe that with God on our side, we ain't got to worry about nothing. And so all the giant killers begin to give God praise like you already got victory. Come on, begin to praise Him, church. Shout out now, we already got it. Somebody say, I got it, I got it. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Would you shout out loud, I got it, I got it. I got victory. I got it, I got it. I got joy. I got it, I got it. I got a breakthrough. I got it, I got it. Now give God some praise like it's already done. Before the church is open, all the giant killers make some Holy Ghost noise and make a declaration that says, when I finish this praise, when I give God this glory, I'm still going to walk out of here a giant killer. I'm praising Him for what He already done, but I'm praising Him for what He's getting ready to do. Is there anybody? I said, is there anybody who will give God glory? The door of the church is open. The altar is open. You got some giant issues. You got some giant issues, but I want you to believe out loud that you're a giant killer. I want you to believe out loud that God got you and God will take care of you. Giant killers. That's the way we defeat giants. The altar is open. Somebody got a giant situation. And not just a giant situation, but the other little things going on too. But if you feel victory in your life, if you can get past the fear and the discouragement, and if you can gain a sense of victory for your life, I want you to clap your hands like you believe God. I want you to begin to believe that He's going to do it just like He said He would.